We're going to be here listening to Roger Caesar. So get ready, everybody. He believes that real leadership is not about position, it's about connection because the strongest leaders build bridges, not barriers. He's an award winning speaker, coach, and entrepreneur, a top three winner in the Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking, who has spent years helping individuals and organizations communicate with impact and authenticity. Over the next 10 minutes, you're going to discover how meaningful connections can elevate your leadership and transform the way you engage with others. Can you please help me welcome Roger Caesar to the virtual stage? Roger, the stage is all yours.
Life has a funny way of teaching you the most predictable lessons at the most unpredictable times. Who knew that one situation would transform the way that I saw leadership for the rest of my life? It was 15 years ago when I barged into a brand new supervisor's office of one of the companies that we had been serving for many years. And as I walked into his office, I saw him standing behind his laptop. His bright orange hair, his steely blue eyes looked up at me. As we stared at each other for about a half a second, I quickly said, "Hello, how you doing? I'm Roger Caesar. I'm the owner of one of the companies that have served you for many years, and I just wanted to welcome you to the company. And if there's anything I can do to be of service, please don't hesitate to let me know." There was a pregnant pause, uncomfortable pause. And then he simply said, "Thank you," and returned his eyes down to his laptop. I tried to generate a conversation, but I was stuttering and stammering. And eventually, what was only 5 minutes in that room felt like 5 hours, with sweat pouring down my face. I turned around and I walked out of his office. I went back to my office, and I remember shutting the door behind me and saying some words, well, that I can't say here today. But in that moment, I felt this small. I didn't understand why. And so, of course, I tried to find any place that I knew that I can learn how to speak effectively in that moment. And while I was doing all of that, there was another thought that came to me, that in that moment, I spent that period of time wondering, what did he do wrong to me? When in actuality, I should have been wondering, what did I do wrong? My name is Roger Caesar, and I help individuals to learn how to speak with confidence and communicate effectively while also connecting with impact. See, in that moment, 15 years ago, I learned a valuable lesson as a communicator. Maybe if you raise your hand right now, have you ever had an uncomfortable conversation? One that made you question whether you or the other person was wrong or right and how it went down? That was me. See, what I learned is that communication without connection is simply cosmetic. It looks good, but it has no real substance. And after that moment, I spent many years trying to understand why people speak well, but fail miserably at connecting. And that's when I realized one important factor that changed how I saw leadership. And I decided to come up with something that I called mastering the mic. Now, we're not talking about this mic where you bellow out sounds. What I'm talking about is MIC, the abbreviation, or the acronym, sorry, for making intentional connections. Making intentional connections means that every time you step into a room, whether it is in a business world, if you are an entrepreneur, or you are at a networking event, you are focused on making the connections matter. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a room and you found yourself talking to somebody, but your mind was somewhere else. It was, well, how is this going to work out in the end? Am I going to get the contract that I was looking for? Or what's for dinner tonight? Making intentional connections. And I came up with 3 M's. Those 3 M's are mindful, meaningful, and memorable. I'm going to repeat that. Mindful, meaningful, and memorable. See, every conversation starts with that first M, being mindful, which means being present and in the moment, understanding that in this very moment here, whatever that person is saying matters. It's not about all of the other things that are going on within your life at that moment. It is being here, making that person the most important person in the room. That day, I was, or at least I thought I was. Making intentional connections from the mindful perspective means that in that moment, it is all about the person you are speaking to, which takes us to meaningful. And that is the conversations that you're having. It's not about the weather. It's not about the traffic. It's about them. Finding out what matters to them and having that exchange in conversation. I mean, have you ever been in a situation where somebody has heard something about you in terms of something sad, bad, or even mad, and yet 2 weeks down the road, they come to you and they say, hey, just wondering if everything is okay from what you told me before. How many times has your eyes lit up because you couldn't believe that they actually remembered what you said? That's because it was meaningful in that moment. And whether it's in business or it's personal, people want to feel like they've been heard. And that leads to being memorable. And memorable simply means that a person remembers you a day, a week, and even a year from now. And sometimes those types of connections matter the most, because it's when you walk out of that room or you see that person many times or time later, and they say to you, I remember you. 3 M's that make intentional connections. What about you? Are you being mindful, meaningful, and memorable in the way you communicate to others? See, 15 years ago, I walked out of that room with that supervisor feeling like I was the most important person in the room. 5 minutes later, I realized that I failed miserably in what is one of the most important skills as a leader: connection. See, communication without connections is simply cosmetic. It looks good, but it's not real substance. And even though I am an author and I teach people through my book, Speak to Inspire, how to communicate effectively, part of what I do here is teach you how to also connect with impact. So the question I have to ask you is, where do you want to see yourself? Communication will get you in the door. Connections will keep you there.
Wonderful job. Let's give it a round of applause for Roger. Just powerful. Roger.